Is this on? Ooh. Hi, everyone. Um, okay. I am calling this meeting to order. Can everyone hear me? Okay. People on Zoom, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Ariel. That's my sister, so I recognize her voice. Okay. I am just going to start with our introductory statement that we always begin with. The leadership of the Independent Neighborhood Democrats welcomes debate and discussion on topics of concern to the members of the community by candidates for office and others. IND believes in the right to free political speech, but believes strongly that personal attacks, profanity, intimidating or threatening gestures or words, attempts to silence speakers, or similar inappropriate behaviors are unacceptable. Individuals engaging in such behavior will be asked to leave. People on Zoom, can you please put your real name for attendance purposes, your real full name, in the little caption on your screens so that we can take attendance? And we will hold club business at the end to be considerate of time. I think we have the first candidate here. I am just going, I think we have other candidates in the room, so everyone gets 15 minutes. You can use that to talk about yourself and take questions however you like. And Matt will walk around with a microphone for questions. He's up here. And Seamus and I will keep time together. And I just want to thank Seamus for helping me and for putting together this beautiful run of show that I quickly texted him at like 5:45 being like, do you have a run of show for tonight? So thanks, everyone. And Danielle, we are beginning with you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak and let you all know a little bit more about me. My name is Danielle Noel, and I am a candidate for civil court judge countywide. I am a native Brooklynite. I was born to immigrant parents who came here from Trinidad for a better life for themselves and their families. They came here for better educations, and they became public servants. My mom was a public school teacher, and my dad worked for the federal government. Yes, sorry. My parents were my example for why I dedicated my career to public service. As public servants, they not only did their job, they also cared for their community. So as a teacher, my mom made sure that her students had the resources that they need, whether that was food or additional homework help. And my dad, as an IRS agent, made sure that the community knew how to file their taxes, and this was all in their off time. So when I became a lawyer, I knew that I had to dedicate my career to public service. I currently work as a court attorney referee in the Kings County Supreme Court right across the street, where I am assigned to the matrimonial division. I try divorce cases that are referred to me by the justices of the matrimonial division, along with pre and post judgment matters such as contempt and enforcement motions. Before that, I worked as a support magistrate in the Kings County Family Court, a little farther down the block. In that capacity, I oversaw and did trials on child support and spousal support cases, as well as paternity and parentage petitions. I also, before that, served as a law clerk to 3 Supreme Court justices, where I handled a variety of matters, including matrimonial, guardianship, medical malpractice, and residential foreclosure. I'm also dedicated to community service, both inside and outside of the courthouse. As a court employee, I host interns from various programs each summer, from the Summer Youth Employment Program, Prep for Prep, and other colleges and universities throughout the Eastern Seaboard. Those interns get an opportunity to not only help me in the courtroom and help me write decisions, they also get exposure to other jobs in the court system. Some of my interns have come back to work as clerks after high school or have pursued careers in the law and criminal justice. Outside of the courtroom, I am the trustee of my synagogue, Congregation Beth Elohim in Park Slope, where I am assigned to the nomination and governance committees, as well as the membership engagement committee. And I also am a Girl Scout troop leader for a Brownie troop in Park Slope, where my girls learn community service, civic engagement, and entrepreneurship through the various Girl Scout badges. I now yield the time for questions.
Does anyone have questions for Danielle?
Which vacancy have you been assigned? Which vacancy have you been assigned for petitioning purposes?
I do not believe I have yet been assigned a vacancy, but as soon as I get that information, I will get it to you.
What do you think your biggest learning curve will be if you are if you get this position, and how will you go about closing that gap?
Certainly. As a civil court judge, if I am elected, I can be placed in criminal, family, or civil court. I have a lot of experience with family and civil, and not as much experience professionally in criminal. Knowing that gap, I have asked through various programs for mentors, judicial mentors, both appointed and elected, primarily those that have served in criminal court, so that I can observe them at arraignments on evenings and weekends. That would probably be my steepest learning curve, but I'm a fast learner. I will also be taking continuing legal education courses between now and then, and look forward to whatever I learn in judges school in January. Yes.
When you were clerking, what were your favorite types of cases to work on?
All of them? No, I'm kidding. I actually really enjoyed the pro se cases, because that is where we really get to impact, both as law clerks and as quasi-judicial employees, the lives of people who really can't afford attorneys, and making sure that they are able to represent themselves in court with the resources that we are able to give them as a court system, and those in partner organizations.
And what are your favorite Girl Scout cookies? High stakes question.
Not really. It's very, my favorites are Samoas. Samoas. I will admit that I do miss Lemon Ups. They're not the same as they used to be. The Savannah Smiles were kind of my favorite. Lemon Ups are a close second.
Any other questions, Matt?
So I've been practicing for 20 years, and I know that everyone in the court system works very hard, and all our judges are very hardworking, but I also know the system isn't perfect
Yes.
by a long shot. So if you are elected and you become a judge, what are something you would love to see changed within the system about how the system works that you think could be an improvement to help, the system move forward?
Absolutely. There are a few things that we could do to improve the system for everyone. The first involves staffing, and I know that is a higher pay grade than the office that I seek, but it doesn't hurt to have judges that are advocating for it, in addition to community partners and legislators. We need more court officers, more interpreters, more clerks, to make sure that we can manage these cases efficiently and effectively, so that people aren't waiting months and years to get their cases heard. Another thing that we can do that is more immediate is updating the forms and the website for the court system. A lot of the forms have been in place for over 20 years. If you look at the quality of the forms, they've been photocopied over and over again. You can barely see some of the font, and the font is almost unreadable in size. We don't have a heavy lift there. There are other counties that have really great forms that have instructions, are in plain English, and by plain English, I mean reading level 8th grade, so that people can really understand and fill them out for themselves. And everyone is less confused. The easier your form is to fill out, the more likely your case is to be resolved quickly and effectively. So those are two things that I think we should really pay attention to. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay, we are running a little ahead of schedule, but Linda's here, so. Oh, sorry, yes. Okay, we're running a little ahead of schedule, but Linda Locasio is here, and she's also a candidate for civil court countywide. So she'll come up. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening and giving me this opportunity to speak to you about my candidacy countywide for civil court. My name is Linda Locascio. I am born, raised, and educated in Brooklyn, as you can tell by my accent. I've spent most of my career in Brooklyn. I have been practicing for 27 years. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a child of immigrants also. My mom was a seamstress and my dad was a repairman, working 2 jobs. I myself have been working 12, but really 14 with working papers, oftentimes 2 jobs at a time. I was inspired by my family not speaking English and most of our friends and family not speaking English to help those who can't help themselves. And that became one of the impetus for me to become an attorney. So as I said, I became an attorney 27 years ago. I started out working at a small firm across the street. And then I joined the Administration for Children's Services, where, as I mentioned to someone earlier, they kind of throw you in, and I became a trial attorney. Those cases had the most impact that I've ever seen, and it also served as a factor of something else I'm going to talk about later. After that, I had my child, and in order to have flexibility, I started my own practice, and I was a solo practitioner for close to 15 years. Then joined the court system about 11 years ago, and I had the great pleasure of working for 3 Brooklyn elected judges, Judge Genovese, Judge Colon, and now the Honorable Rosemary Montalbano. I have worked in civil court, which is the position I'm seeking now. I did all kinds of proceedings in civil court, mostly working with pro se litigants. That would be small claims, consumer debt, which we're all too familiar with, which also consisted of medical debt bills, rental arrears. I did name change proceedings, motion practice, trials. We did it all. We then moved on to Supreme Court. In Supreme Court, I've had the pleasure of working pretty much every part there is. I had the commercial part, the matrimonial part, a general trial, IAS part, they call it. They had guardianship part, mental hygiene part, and when my judge became acting Supreme Court Justice, I also worked and did criminal arraignments. I then became a court attorney to the Honorable Rosemary Montalbano, and in that capacity, I'm working in surrogates court. So I pretty much hit every court there is throughout my career. I was working closely with Judge Montalbano for about a year and a half when she then promoted me to be referee. As a referee, I have my personal inventory of assigned cases, which I deal with under her leadership. I do my own hearings. I rule on testimony and evidence, just so it's a quasi-judicial position. Things that motivate me, personal experiences in my life, which include my brother being sick and losing my brother and his family having to deal with that and the expenses related to that. Personal stories, things I've heard of in the courthouse, they all motivate me. Why I want to become a judge? Well, there's several reasons. One, I love what I do. I truly love my job, but I would love the flexibility, not the flexibility, excuse me, the visibility and the platform to be a judge, because that exposure will allow me to do more. In my course of working these past 27 years, and most certainly in the last 11 years in the court system, I've identified deficits in our court system, whether they be through the experiences of the cases that come before me or through just my observation. One of those things that I do when I have a case in front of me, I know I was a court attorney, or even now, is give the case a holistic approach, looking at what's happening with all the parties, and not just what's before me, but what the parties need, what they're coming here, how they're being heard completely, because sometimes what they're suing for is not necessarily what they need to be heard on. And so I bring that all in to each individual case that I have, with the hope of having an outcome that at least everyone's walking away feeling that they've been granted dignity, respect, and an opportunity to be heard, because that is my job. That is absolutely my job. one of the things that I've noticed in the court system that I think that we could work on is mental illness and guardianship. I think there is a lack of resources in that regard. I know the court is working on that. It would be my goal, should I ascend to the bench, to hopefully join the mental health task force. I'm right now on the court's advisory committee for surrogates court. So if I should be blessed to transfer over to civil court, family court, or criminal court, it would be my goal to join any committee that they welcome me to, but most certainly the mental illness or mental health task force, that is. I'll take any questions if you want. Thank you. Ooh, I touched your computer.
Judges have a lot of inherent power. There's a lot more shall laws than must laws. Can you tell us about a time when you were in private practice when a case you were working on got thrown out for discretionary power and how you dealt with that with your client and what you will take out of that experience when you go to the bench?
So I do have a case in mind, but I won't be too detailed with it, where I did not feel that the judge wanted to hear my argument. I think the judge in that particular case, and this is very rare, by the way, predetermined how they were going to rule, and I did not agree with the judge's decision. And then I had to, I lost that argument, and I had to go back to explain to my client. I couldn't say, the judge ruled against you and it was incorrect in doing so. I tried to explain the logic of the court's decision, and then I fought against it. And I advocated for my client, and we got that decision overturned. Thank you.
Anyone else? I can ask a question. Can you tell us about the work you did as a solo practitioner for 15 years?
Sure. So I was pretty much mostly a per diem because I picked up work everywhere. That was a nice balancing motherhood and balancing a per diem was quite fun. And I was making myself available pretty much in every county. And so I appeared mostly in Supreme Court, but also surrogates court. I also did hearings, and I also was a court appointee, which meant that the court, there's something called a Part 36 list, which you register, you become acclimated in a certain kind of area of law, and then you register with the courts to be a court appointee. So I did that for many years, and that helped me build relationships with the judges, but also understand that was my first experience with kind of going into the court system, what the expectations were, and how I could serve the court. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Oh, there is a question on the chat. Let me see. Linda, we do actually have one more question.
I'll read it out.
Okay, yes, please. Yeah.
From Brian Shelkin. I'm concerned to read recent headlines of a recent Brooklyn judge resigning based on allegations of improper business transactions. What steps will you take to ensure confidence in your impartiality and adherence to code of judicial conduct?
So as a I'm currently, thank you for the question, by the way, Brian. I am currently in a quasi-judicial role as a referee, so I'm already expected, and of course, do what I have to do every day to comply with the judicial obligations or the ethics. There are instances, of course, where we're faced with situations, but we are officers of the court, and the expectation is we will rule impartially and on the law. I cannot comment on the article. I am aware of it, but I can tell you that for myself, I know that I've spent my 27 years as a lawyer proceeding ethically, and I will continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and our next candidate is Celeste Felix, who is also running for civil court countywide. Thank you, Celeste.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I would just first like to say thank you for having us. I don't know if the importance of having judicial candidates speak to the voters, if that really comes across as, how important it is. I've been saying throughout my campaign that judges make decisions that impact not just people individually, but the world. And so for you, the voters and those who will support us and endorse us, I think it's very important that you know who you are electing to the bench. And who will be sitting in these positions to make decisions on your lives, on your family's lives, on your children's lives. So thank you again for having us. This is so important. So again, my name is Celeste Felix. I am running for civil court judge here in Kings County, countywide. And I have been in public service for nearly 20 years now. I started my career as a trial attorney with the Administration for Children's Services, much like Linda just spoke about. And those cases were some of the most instrumental to me growing as an attorney and wanting to be a judge now. The impact that that those cases have had on my life, my personal life, my career-wise, very, very important. I dealt with cases of abuse and neglect of children, our most vulnerable population here. And there were times where I didn't feel that, particularly maybe some children that it was necessary to remove them from their home, and I stood up and I said no in those situations. And I know that helped me in terms of being the type of judge that I want to be and doing what is right, as opposed to what is perhaps expected. And I think that's important for a judge. I also dealt with cases of custody and visitation, child support, juvenile delinquency cases I also handled. And that encompasses criminal law, but for youth, right? So it's not considered a crime if it's committed by a child. But the gist of it is criminal law. So I do have years of experience in that area. I became a court attorney for 3 amazing judges. I first worked with Judge Nora Freeman in family court, and then with the Honorable Lillian Wan, who is now in the Second Department Appellate Division. And my current judge is Justice Rupert Barry. After family court, I moved on to civil court, where, much like, again, Linda spoke about, we dealt with credit card debt, consumer debt, name changes, small claims court, and no-fault cases. And then my current position as a principal law clerk in Supreme Civil, I deal with the motion part. So that is, whatever you can imagine a court case being, that's what I deal with. So that includes labor law, personal injury, medical malpractice, wrongful death. Again, we deal with name changes. We do trials. We hold trials. We just had a verdict recently, not too long ago, $4 million, a jury trial. So very interesting cases. I'm also a small claims arbitrator, so I do night court, and I hear those cases. I've been in the position to make decisions, and some of those cases that I've heard is security deposits have not been returned, and they're suing to get their security deposit back, or they're suing their local cleaners because they've messed up their clothing. Whatever you can think of, we've dealt with in small claims court. I've also been a hearing officer for the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. So, if you put out your mattress and you don't cover it and you get a ticket, you come see me and I make those decisions. Or you haven't swept in front of your property and you got a ticket for that, or you took out the garbage a day earlier than it was supposed to and you got a ticket for that. I dealt with those cases. And then I was also a hearing officer for MTA. So jumping the turnstile, if there was, disgusting as it may sound, urinating on the trains and they got tickets, I dealt with those cases. And so over these last 20 years, I've amassed, I think, a wealth of knowledge and experience that puts me square in this position to be a judge. And I'm ready for that task. And so thank you again for having us, and I will take any questions.
Any questions?
Given that you mentioned a lot of weird, gross, petty incidents, is there any particularly funny one you'd care to share?
On the train cases? Funny.
Get a load of this.
I mean, the urination ones, but the truth of the matter is, this was a hardworking gentleman who just happened to needed to use the bathroom. The train was very delayed. As you know, in New York City, sometimes you're waiting 30 minutes and more. And he said he really needed to go. But the law is what the law is. You're not supposed to urinate. So I unfortunately, while I did understand his situation, I could not get him out of the ticket.
So I'm a lawyer for the MTA. So shout out. Luckily for me, what I do does not in any way touch on any of that.
Okay.
Thank God. But the question I have for you is, so as a practitioner, as someone who's been in the system, same question I asked Danielle, what would you like to see changed within the system if you were a judge, if you're elected, to improve how the courts work, and what would you bring to that position?
When Danielle answered the question, it really hit home. So we definitely need more court officers and interpreters. We were just having a situation recently where we couldn't get an interpreter for this person. And what keeps happening is that the case keeps being adjourned. They have a right to have their case heard, and not only just heard, but heard timely. And if we're putting cases off month after month, and sometimes for months out, that person is not getting their due process. And all because we could not find that language or have that person available. And sometimes with particular languages that are not as common, you have to wait a pretty long time to get that interpreter in. Court officers, there are times where judges have to conduct hearings without a court officer in the courtroom because we have to start our caseload. And so definitely, and obviously that's not something the judges are able to be a part of, but whoever's listening, please, we need more court officers, more clerks, more interpreters. Also, we understand that the court it's for litigation, right? But I also think that there needs to be, or we need to start a discussion about capping the amount of motions that are filed, especially when they are the same motion over and over and over. Sometimes in our court system, our computer system, we go into a case and there's 800 documents that are uploaded, and many of them are the same arguments over and over. So I think that's also, to be more efficient, we have to figure out a way to cap motions and cap the documents that are being filed, the cases that are being filed.
If you become a judge, which of the three possibilities would you be most excited about?
In terms of which courtroom? My first love is always family court. That's where I started. That's where I spent 13 years of my career. The cases there had the most impact on me and my career, my life. So I would love to go back to family court, but I am ready to hit the ground running wherever I am placed.
All right, do we have any questions in the chat?
And the comment about that they cannot use Google Translate in courts.
No, no. Has to be a court-certified interpreter.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, great. And next we have Christine Ortiz. I don't know if she's here yet. She's not here yet. Okay, she's on her way. Okay. I will then talk about upcoming events in the meantime, but we are running like quite ahead. So, and wait, is Janice here? Probably not.
No, Janice, I know just finished.
She just finished at CBID. Okay. All right. Well, I'll just go over the upcoming events that we have. So next Thursday in 1 week, we split up this. We usually only have one meeting a month, but because we had so many candidates to hear from in January and February, Seamus and I decided to split it up between this meeting and next Thursday. Next Thursday, we'll be hearing from the district leader candidates, who are Alyssa and Erin. And it'll be on Zoom because Alyssa just had a baby, so we wanted to put it, be accommodating. And then we're going to have our endorsement discussion. So Seamus, can you remind us the rules of how you can vote in the endorsement discussion, the eligibility?
So I'm going to be sending out an email. So in case you just don't remember, don't worry about it. I'll be sending it out probably either tomorrow or the day after. So if you are a new member, so you're just started in the past year, you have to have attended 3 meetings in the past year plus paid dues. That's the first thing. If you are a returning member, so you've been voting in the previous elections, you have to have just attended 2 meetings plus paid dues. Any questions so far on that? Matt?
Can next week's meeting be the 3rd meeting?
Yes, it can. Yes. Yes, and additionally, to vote, you must be present at the meeting, so you have to be on the Zoom. No proxy voting, yes. So if you're not there, you're not getting a ballot. Ballots will be sent via email to you, and this is where it gets a little confusing, so bear with me. And because this happens every cycle. We do a ranked choice voting system, so just like what you saw in your November or June ballots, where you rank your candidates, same deal there. It's a drag and drop. Yours truly actually built the system. The entire algorithm is actually open sourced, which Alyssa, as president, was very angry at me about because we could have made some money on it. But the way it works also is that no endorsement cannot be eliminated between rounds. So a candidate in the final round, well, a candidate either has to have a simple majority in any round or has to, in the final round of ranked choice voting, has to get more votes than no endorsement. So it is to your benefit if you truly hate a candidate, saying this in general, I'm not naming anyone else, putting anyone out, to put no endorsement on your ballot. If you do not put no endorsement, it is as if you did not vote in that round. Let me repeat. If you do not put no endorsement, it means you just didn't vote. It's as if you, when we had runoff primaries, for those of us that remember that, it's as if you skipped that. Any questions? Okay. That's what I'm checking. Jonathan, yeah, just says that he can't be there in person. Oh, he can't be there tonight. We miss you so much, Jonathan, you know, but you're here in spirit. Yeah. Wait, is there, yeah.
You don't have an example of one, do you?
Not right now. Not right now. What I will be doing is probably on Tuesday, I'll probably be sending out to everyone who will be eligible to vote, assuming they attend on Thursday, some sort of ballot, dummy questions, so you can see it actually in action. You can vote. We'll announce the results. I'm thinking as the fun question, because I always try to do a fun question, I'll probably have favorite Girl Scout cookie, and also best Winter Olympic sport. Yeah. And if luge does not, or not luge, if curling does not win, I will be very angry. What's the one with the skiing in the gut? Yeah, biathlon. Okay. Is there a question in the back? Or Vicky?
In the Olympics, can you add
Relationship drama. She is referring to the French ice dancing team.
The Norwegian biathlete who cheated on his girlfriend.
Oh, that one too.
and the biathlete and hockey players or whatever? There's so many.
There's more questions here than for the judges.
Rest my case.
Yeah. Matt.
Speaking of the judges, when we vote on them, we'll be voting on each judge individually, or we'll be voting on however many judges we have as a group.
As a group.
There's more than one civil court slot this year.
Yeah. As a group. That's how we've traditionally done it. And that's actually a really great question. If it gets to a situation where this doubtful will happen, but if there's a situation where there are 2 judges going for the same slot. So Joan earlier asked one of the candidates, which slot are you going for? What we will do then is that when there is voting, there is actually a sort of paper copy. we will actually have to go and just tally that, see who. Still had the alarm going from the last candidate. So we will then have to go into what the copy is, so what everyone voted and check that, see who the next runner-up was, if there is such a situation on that. But I think it's doubtful because there are 4 candidates countywide running for 4 slots. Yeah. However, there is also the possibility of us going no endorsement also for one of them situations. It'll only be 3 on our petitions, but. Yeah, okay. Any other questions about the endorsement process? Okay, yeah.
All right, well, if you have additional questions, you can always ask Seamus. He's available to answer. I heard that Julie just walked in. Did she go to the bathroom? Okay. Well, when she comes up, for those who weren't at our January meeting, we heard from Antonio and from Claire Valdez, Antonio Reynoso and Claire Valdez for Congressional District 7. And Julie Wan has thrown her hat in the ring, so she is also running. She's a city council member in Queens, and she joined, I think, right after, actually, like pretty recently, the race. So we would like to hear from her as well. In terms of other events coming up, okay, so petitioning, everyone's favorite activity. We're going to be handing out petitions. Joan's going to be leading that. Susanna also. That is going to be starting Monday, February 23rd, so not this coming Monday, but a week from that, until Thursday the 26th. And you can pick up your petitions from 5:30 to 7:30 at 10 Clinton Street in like the lobby area. Did I get everything right, Joan? It's the community room right off the lobby area. I was as close as I was gonna get. So, and if anyone wants to volunteer to help Joan with that, I'm sure Hal will be there helping Joan. But others, that would be great. Yeah, seems like Ira might help too. Wonderful, thank you. Karen, even though, you know, she had a little accident, but she's willing to help. So if Karen can do it, you probably can too. Great, so please do pick up petitions because we have a lot of candidates to get signatures for, and as we know, we can't vote for them unless they're on the ballot. So let's make sure they get on the ballot. All right, and Councilwoman, we're ready for you if you're ready. Okay. So you have 15 minutes and you can just talk about yourself and what you hope to do and then answer questions. You can split it up how you want. All right, nice to meet you too.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, good evening. Okay, I'm going to move a little bit so that you can see me. My name... Okay. Okay, better, because I like to see the people that I'm talking to. It's so good to see you all. My name is Julie Wan. I'm currently a council member. I represent District 26, but more importantly, I'm really excited to be here with you to introduce myself because I would love to be your future Congress member, gain your trust, and gain your support. I come from a non-traditional background into politics. I probably wouldn't be standing here with you if it weren't for COVID-19. I'm an immigrant, I'm a mom, and I spent about 10 years in technology, the first half of it in Washington, D.C., because I was recruited out of school at a university in New York to go to Washington, D.C. and work with federal civilian agencies to help them modernize, where I worked with Library of Congress, FDA, and the hospital system to help them go from paper-based to digital on the cloud, and so much more. Sorry, I just ran here from another forum, and then I had to use the restroom. But for me, as an immigrant, I grew up on public benefits, and if it weren't for that, I probably would not have been able to go to university using financial aid, and I probably wouldn't have ended up in a technology job without the education that I received. But it was only possible for me to study because of public school free lunch, because you know Maslow's basic needs. If you don't have food in your stomach, you're going to be distracted. But through public school free lunch is how I grew up, and I was so incredibly grateful my whole life. So as a consultant, I used to travel 90% of the time because I left the federal practice once Trump took office the first time, and I didn't want anything to do with that man. Even as a tertiary, five degrees away, I didn't want to help him do anything. So I moved back to New York from Washington, D.C., and I entered the commercial practice, and I used to be 90% travel, where I would travel Monday to Thursdays, working on different clients all over the country and in the world. When all of a sudden I got a call one day and they said, Julie One, my partner said to me, you're no longer going to be traveling because there's some sort of pandemic, there's a virus. So sit at home, sit tight, and we're going to figure out how we're going to work. And we'll probably work remotely. So now I went from being extremely busy to having a lot of free time. And I was sitting at home with my former roommate who worked for de Blasio at the time as a senior advisor. And he came up to the press conference and he said, everybody, City of New York, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but don't panic. We're going to close down our schools, and if you receive public school free lunch, then you can come and pick it up. And I immediately was triggered to have a flashback where I thought about myself in 4th grade. Anytime there was a federal holiday and schools were closed, that meant my brother and I went hungry. And I just knew that kids like me growing up from low-income backgrounds, they're not going to have childcare. They're sitting at home alone. They can't go outside and walk a half a mile or a mile to school to pick up their free food. So right away, I started to call some of the nonprofits that I was partnered with because I was on the community board. I served on the board of 2 local nonprofits. And I finally got a hold of Rethink Foods, a nonprofit that works with small businesses, restaurants, to use government contracts to help feed people who are hungry. And they said to me, Julie One, if you can pick up the food, you can bring it anywhere you want. So I borrowed my dad's car, started picking up free food that was left over from their meal distributions, and I brought it back to Queensbridge Houses, the largest public housing in the country, the NYCHA in my district. And then we expanded to Woodside Houses, Ravenswood Houses, and it was just from the shared experience of knowing what it's like to be hungry that made me build these connections with them. But it was this little girl that I met, Natalie, who would sit outside every single day for up to 6 hours, even in the winter cold. And I started to befriend her and I asked her, what are you doing? What are you always doing sitting at the bus stop? And it was because her mom, her single mother, could not afford internet, that she was going to school using Link NYC bus stops because that was her only connectivity to internet. Yeah. That broke my heart. That made me so angry. It was enough that kids were going hungry. Now they're being ashamed because she said to me, Miss, I never turn on my microphone and I never, ever turn on my camera because I don't want my classmates to know that I'm poor. That pissed me the F off. So as a former federal contractor, I knew that if I had $11, I could provide all these students with a hotspot where they could connect 11 devices at high speed in the comfort of their own homes. So me being the lunatic I am, I start calling every single level of elected officials. I'm like, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? You're telling me that you have to go get your government services online, go to school online, get your telehealth online. So what are you doing to make the most vulnerable people get connected to online? Because it should be at this point, especially during an emergency, a utility like heat and hot water and electricity. And every single one of them kind of brushed me off and they were like, people are dying outside. I'm like, I know, that's why I'm calling you. So as they ignored me, I started to talk to my friends, especially the ones that I worked with at IBM who were consultants. And I said, guys, this is what's happening in my neighborhood and I want to do something about it. And they're like, okay, let's break this down. How many voters are there? Because the last person I spoke to was my predecessor, my council member, who said, I'm term limited. There's an open seat. If you care so much about this whole internet thing, why don't you run for office and do it yourself? And then I was like, I don't know about that. But then I started to talk to people that I was connected to, and my finance executive at my former company became my treasurer as a volunteer. Then 2 of the designers that I worked with became my brand consultants, and they created my whole website, created my logo. And then my former boyfriend at the time, who worked in politics since he was 15, he's like, I think this is our path to victory. And we started to go through the data of how we would get our votes. And then we started as a core team of 20 volunteers. And over the course of 6 months, we became a team of 200 volunteers. And despite not having a single endorsement from elected officials, we were voted by the WFP, by the members to be the person they endorsed, but then the regional affiliates and all of that stuff, they voted against me. And they ended up not endorsing me. But at the end, even though the Democratic Party and all those people never endorsed us, we still won in a very crowded race. So fast forward, in 6 months of being elected, I got free internet, cable TV, and unlimited call and text for every single NYCHA resident in my district. And it was so successful that within the last 3 years, we expanded that program called Big Apple Connect to every single NYCHA that is publicly owned in the city of New York. Thank you. And we made sure that there was high adoption rate. So it has 80% adoption rate, which is the highest in public benefits in the city of New York, because as someone who spent most of my childhood translating for my mom how to apply for these benefits, I did not want to dehumanize these people who already live in public housing to prove to me that they qualify for free internet. So what I did as a former contractor, I just went and looked, because internet service providers have territories, which means that there's no competition. The same way Con Ed is the only provider for your electricity, only Verizon or Optimum has that territory. So we just looked at whoever had the largest share of the market for that NYCHA. We met with them, did a franchisee agreement, the way that you do for a university, like the one we're standing in now, where for a dorm room, you don't force people to pay unit to unit. But for some reason, for apartments, they say, you can't share your internet with your neighbor. We can. So we did enterprise licenses, we got a good deal, and that's how we were able to do an opt-out program. So if you lived in a NYCHA, you just got a bill that's at 000. And at first, people thought it was a scam, and we're like, no, we just paid for it. And that's just a glimpse of what I've been able to do because of my professional training with transferable skills, and also just being hyper-focused and disciplined on why I was elected to office. And once I ran out of things to do, because I got internet for all the public housing residents, I kind of looked around and I was like, I think I'm ready to go. Because as a consultant, you do your project and then you leave. But then my district looked at me and they're like, remember that housing project that we failed so miserably at, which was Amazon HQ2? They said, I think we should build housing. We need public housing. Because as an immigrant, we welcomed every single migrant that was rejected by other council districts. So we had the highest amount of migrants come to our district and the highest amount of immigrants registered to our public schools. And for every single one of them, which was 10,000 of them under our care, I said, we need to build 10,000 units of affordable housing to make sure that even though I can't control who gets placed in them, that at least we did something about it so that we know that they have permanent housing, not just warehousing these people. So within the last year, we passed the One LIC project, which is the highest amount of affordable housing and housing at large in the city history of New York within one project. So that was 15,000 units of housing. And I'm going to continue at this rate where we are hyper-focused on achieving the best for New Yorkers. And if elected to Congress, I'm currently focused on two things. The first one is immigration. We have to abolish ICE and we have to end family separation. I've had a young man, Joe Ortega, who was 26 years old, came with his wife and 3 kids. He hung himself in my shelter. I've had a 6-year-old boy and his dad, Yuan Xin. He was taken at a bus stop with his father and deported back to China, where he begged and begged and begged, said, if you send me back there, I'm going to get political persecution. These families are the ones that I think about when I hesitated to run for Congress, because it is not an easy thing to do as a young mother, as someone who comes from a working class background. I don't have millions of dollars to self-fund my campaign. And that's what I'm thinking about. And 2, the second is a lifetime, what we're calling a lifetime of care. It was started under Senator Elizabeth Warren and tried to be adopted by Joe Biden and others under Build Back Better. But as you see, what I just said, it doesn't resonate with anybody because they're like, that was a campaign that happened? Because it was so poorly branded. But basically, what a care economy is what we're saying is a lifetime of care. And all that means is that from the moment you're conceived or the moment that you're born until the day that you retire or the day that you die, that every step of the way that you deserve basic care from the government. So for conception, as a mother, you deserve quality prenatal care, birth care, and postpartum care. This country does not have that. Within my tenure, I've already had 3 Black moms die, where I've had to sit with widowed fathers who said, hey, I gave birth at Woodhall, and my wife came home with me, and 48 hours later, she was dead on the floor. That is not okay in the city of New York. So in addition to birth, we also have to continue to fight for actual cost-free childcare. Right now, I'm already getting calls from mothers who are saying, hey, I have a 2-year-old and I need affordable childcare. Mothers should not have to choose between having a career and caring for their child. It's the best for our economy if you can do both. But currently, even with the new system at twos, you have to qualify by earning under $100,000, and only for certain neighborhoods you're going to have this program. And one of the biggest hurdles is the cost of it. And right now, under Donald Trump, not only did Donald Trump completely dissolve the Department of Education, at large on the federal level, but he also froze all early childhood education funding. So we need to make sure that we're fighting for these fundings to be used again. And in addition to childcare, also for our youth, our aftercare. We don't work 9 to 3 anymore. We work 9 to 5. That means that we have to have after-school care for all of our children. And in addition to childcare, also job prospects. Right now, we're in a $12 billion budget deficit, and we're seeing job stagnation, and we're on the burst of a new industrial revolution, which is kind of the AI revolution as we're seeing it, or the tech bubble that we're going to see, like the dot-com bubble that bursted. So in addition to that, I think at the end of our life care, we get a lot of heart-wrenching stories about issues with our Medicaid and Medicare for our seniors and home care, so people can age in place. No adult wants to end up in a senior home without really wanting to be there, and people want to have health care, home care in their own homes, and you should be able to qualify, because there's a lot of New Yorkers who are too poor for the luxury of paying for home care out of pocket, but your income is not low enough to qualify for Medicaid where it's covered by insurance. So when you're in that in-between, which is most New Yorkers, because the country likes to blanket the way that we formulate these qualifications, then a lot of us are left in the dark. And then lastly, it's for funeral assistance. We've had so many people come to our office who said, hey, my mother or my father abruptly died, and now I'm $35,000 to $65,000 in debt because I had to bury them because of my religious beliefs. I can't just cremate somebody. So these are the things that I've witnessed within the last 4 years that have led me to make the jump to run for Congress. And I hope to continue to build relationships with you all. I'm going to continue to be accessible to you. I want to hear from you, because from what I crowdsource from the people that I work with, the people that have come to my office, and the people that I continue to hear from is how we're going to govern. So thank you for having me, and it's really nice to see you all.
People have questions. He's going to go around with the microphone. Okay, wait, one sec, Ira. We're going to use the microphone. No,
Okay.
we do for Zoom. They have.
Okay, question.
But speak into the microphone. It's just speak into it, Ira, so that
Hi
the
there.
Zoom people can hear you.
Can you hear me? I want to put you on the spot.
I'm on the spot.
Okay.
Look at me. I'm
She's
standing
there,
in the
she's
front.
there.
Now, you're now in Congress. Two
Not yet.
things. One, what is your take on insider trading? Second thing,
Okay, choose your more important question, because other
okay,
people
that's
have
question
questions.
number one.
Okay,
Part number two,
but
when the government shuts down, people are on furlough, they don't get paid. Congress does. Would you fight for legislation to make you equal to the people who are getting fired or not getting paid and not get paid when you're on shutdown?
Yes and yes. I think we should not allow Congress members to have stock portfolios or their spouses. And yes, I will also take a furlough, because we all should be treated the same.
thank you, council member. Okay, yes, sir.
That was easy, Ira.
First of all, I thought you'd appreciate knowing that the color washout on the video makes it look like you're wearing indigo or purple instead of blue. And second of all, given that you're running in a race with 3 people, but there is no ranked choice voting, if there were ranked choice voting, how would you rank the other 2 people?
I believe in a free democracy, and I actually find it really disheartening that people only talk about 3 people in this race. Because when I first ran, people did the same thing to me, and I was 1 out of 18. And I just want to reiterate that there's 12 people who are in the race who have filed to run. Yes, there's 12 people. And you never know that there might be little raccoons like me who come out of nowhere who are like, hello, I'm here to connect with voters. I've been in the community. I may not be a political insider, but I have a good intention. So I just want to put that out there. Secondly, yes, there's no ranked choice voting and there's no matching funds. That means that you have to raise raw dollars, and that's probably why you don't see a lot of women of color or working class people who ever run for Congress. Even though there's no ranked choice voting, I would say that I still think very highly of my opponents or other candidates, because I don't think they're my opponents. I'm not in a physical fight. If I had to choose a number 2, it would be Antonio Reynoso.
Thank you, council member. And just super quickly, what committees are you looking forward to serving on if you win?
It's very contentious because there's a lot of inside baseball with the committees, but if I could, my dream would be to serve on housing. Because you hear this all the time where whenever we talk about affordable housing, they say, affordable for whom? And I'm like, yeah, that's right, because we have to change the formula in which how we calculate affordability. And that formula is based on the area median income, which is formulated or decided by legislation of Congress. And I would love to work on that because currently in New York City's area median income, we also calculate Rockland County and Westchester County. I don't know about you, but no New Yorker is like, you're not from New York City if you live in Rockland County or Westchester. No matter how much you vouch for it, you just ain't us. And you should not count with us because you're just inflating how area median income is calculated. And secondly, after housing, I would love to serve on the Space, Technology, and Science Committee because of my background in tech, especially when it comes to AI task force, because I think we are on the cusp of something really large. If we aren't focusing on upskilling our workforce to make sure that every single employee in every industry knows basic digital literacy for AI, we're going to see some severe job loss.
Thank you so much. I know, we're just out of time since we went out of order. Thank you so much. Great. Well, next we'll hear from Christine Ortiz, who's also a civil court countywide candidate. And thank you for waiting. I know we went a little out of order. You can just stand up here or you can speak over there with this microphone, whatever you want. Just make sure you speak into the microphone for the Zoom people. Whatever you want. Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening, as well as the other candidates who are running countywide. We are all very excited, and I believe that we are all super qualified. So very excited to be running with these wonderful three women. My name is Christine Ortiz. I am a born and bred New Yorker. My father's Puerto Rican, New Rican second generation. My mother is from Peru. She came here in her 20s, and they met salsa dancing, of course. I grew up in the city. I grew up in Queens. I went to the Bronx High School of Science. I went to Columbia, and then I went to CUNY Law. I am a child of the city, and I went to CUNY Law because I believe in the school's philosophy, law in the service of human needs, and my commitment to the law has been for public service. When I graduated from law school, it was not a great time to graduate from law school, so I ended up at a commercial firm where I litigated in federal court and in the commercial division throughout New York State, representing a corporation. But I also did matrimonial cases. I got orders of protection for clients. I did support, custody. I also did employment law, where I actually had a class action lawsuit for a bunch of supers and porters in the Bronx whose wages were being, wage theft, sorry, distracted. Then I started in the court system. In the municipal part, I have been with 3 justices of the Supreme Court civil term. With my last justice, I was with her in civil court, which is the position I'm seeking. She was elected civil court, but then she sat in criminal court, so I spent 2 years with her in criminal court. And then we have been in Supreme Civil for the past 4 or 5 years. So that's a little bit about me. Anything, do you guys have any questions?
Do you have any really funny court stories you want to share?
Let's see. I would say I once was as the court attorney to a justice. She was in matrimonial, and we had settled custody, we had settled support, everything was done. The wife was like, I just want my kid to spend the summer at summer camp in Florida and whatever. Oh, sorry, Florida. And she goes, and the one sticking point for this divorce was the crock pot. He was like, you can't have it. And she's like, I need it for Sabbath dinner. He doesn't make the dinner. He's never done it. He doesn't cook, but it was the one thing that he just couldn't let go. He was like, yeah, send the kid to Florida. I don't care. He could be there all summer. I don't care. But the crock pot, and it's not because of like everything was settled, but he just like couldn't let go of her, you know? So that was like like, can someone just buy him a crock pot? Like, can we just like buy one in the funds and just like, so that was kind of like, come on, guys. Yes?
So, like you, I've practiced all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you the same question I asked someone else. Judges have a lot of discretionary power. There's a lot more shall laws than must laws. So can you tell me about a time during your practice where one of your clients got dinged by those discretionary powers and how you had to explain that to them about why their important case got dinged for those kind of reasons and what you will bring from that experience to your practice on the bench?
Dinged by a shall versus a may. Let me see. I think it happened when I had matrimonial clients. Obviously, it's in matrimonial law, it's not equal but equitable in New York State, which means that you don't just get 50-50, you get what is equitable when you have all the assets. So having to understand that and explain that to your client that you do have to pay alimony or you do have to pay child support. It's not just like marriage is over and like they take what they take and you get what you get. But then I think in terms of may and shall, I would say as a court attorney, a lot of times I've helped my justice with discretion. There are times where we were in criminal court and I helped her with discretion. And, I walk in the world differently than my justice does. She is a Syrian Orthodox Jewish woman, and I am a Latina woman who grew up in New York City. And when we were in criminal court, the population that she saw was not her population. It looked like me. And there were things that I have experienced in my life and that I understand that she, growing up in a more insular community in Brooklyn, didn't have a concept of. And so there were times where I was like, Judge, there are other things happening here that have led these people here, and we should give them a chance for supervised release. We should give them a chance for this. Another one was in civil court recently where we had an infant compromise that had happened 10 years ago. The child was now an adult, but she was not completely mentally capable to foresee all of her finances, and her grandmother was her guardian. And Medicare came and said, hey, we found this money in a bank account, we're cutting off all your services, and we're docking you the $20,000 we found in the bank account. It was an infant compromise, so it should have been protected because she needs those services, she needs access to that. So the grandmother made a petition on her own and said, just give them the money because we need the services. Just give it to them. And we were like, no, that's not fair. We got on the phone with Medicare, we called them, and they said, this is how you can help, Judge. This is how you can help protect the money from us because we agree that she deserves these services and we should not be touching this money. And so we had to redo the order, and also the grandmother and the child, now adult, didn't speak English. So I was translating for them because we couldn't get an interpreter. And we called the attorney who was originally on the infant comp 10 years ago, and he agreed to represent and do all the paperwork for free, open the bank account, and we were able to, now she has that money that she gets a little bit from every month, and she still has her services because at some point her grandmother will pass and she will have to continue in the world on her own, and she needs that. And it shouldn't have been taken. And so we were able to, with discretion, obviously, fix something for them. Do you have any other questions? Oh.
I can read it if you'd like. Yeah.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
Which of the three, like civil, criminal, or family court, would you be most interested or most excited to work in?
I think that as someone who's worked in public service and I've had experience in all three, I think my most excitement would be to be wherever the court system believes there is a need to serve. I have been fortunate enough to have my own clients in matrimonial. I've had my own criminal clients. I had a criminal who was trafficked here from Mexico for 10 years, and I vacated all her convictions for prostitution because they were not of her free will, so that she could be able to get employment, So I've had a lot of experience in all three. I also still sit as a small claims arbitrator in civil court, so at night, if you have any small claims, you might see me sitting there and arbitrating them. So I have experience there and continue to have experience there. So really, it's whatever the court needs, that's where I will be. Whatever the people need is where I want to go.
Okay. And you said you went to Bronx Science.
I did go to Bronx.
Did you go with our mayor? And were you guys?
Oh no, I'm older than the mayor. Even though I am very well preserved, I am older than the mayor, so we did not overlap at all. But yes, no, it's so much fun. Like, it's exciting, to have another city kid.
All right. Any other questions?
Question in the chat from Brian Shelkin. What is your connection to Brooklyn? What are the pros/cons to judges having connection to the place where they preside?
Brian Chelkin actually used to appear in front of my justice when we were in criminal court. Hi, Brian. I would say that I do not reside in Brooklyn. I reside in Yorkville, but I grew up between Astoria and Belrose in Queens. And I would say, that's why I say I'm a child of the city. I went to high school in the Bronx. I went to college in Manhattan. I went to CUNY Law in Queens. And my connection to Brooklyn is serving the people of Brooklyn for the past 10 years. This borough and these people and the people I work with and work for are just like amazing, and I can't see myself doing this anywhere else. And I've enjoyed my time in Brooklyn, and I choose to serve the people of Brooklyn, even though I grew up somewhere else and I live somewhere else. I want to serve the people of Brooklyn because I have been serving the people of Brooklyn.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, great. And last but not least, we're going to be hearing from Janice Purvis, who is running for civil court in the 6th Municipal District. She'll have to tell us where that is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janice Purvis, and I'm running in the 6th Municipal District. First and foremost, I would like to thank the club for your support last year. Your endorsement, your support, and the collection of signatures were absolutely pivotal in helping me to successfully defeat a challenge to my petitions last year by a county-backed candidate. So thank you so much. I am a dedicated career public servant. I have 21 years in the unified court system. The past 20 years, I have been in Kings County Supreme Court. I am currently quasi-judicial, so I'm a court attorney referee. I am also a special referee on uncontested matrimonial matters, and that's under the Honorable Judge Jeffrey Sunshine. He is the statewide coordinator for matrimonial matters. I work in, I conference cases in the pretrial discovery parts under Honorable Judge Brian Gottlieb. I also research, write decisions for various judges in Kings County. And last but certainly not least, this is something that's very close to my heart, I work with self-represented litigants in the Help Center. So I have also, extensive experience in the Brooklyn community. I am an active member of various bar associations, including, the Brooklyn Bar Association, Brooklyn Women's Bar Association, Columbian Lawyers Association of Brooklyn. I am a proud Crown Heights resident, where I'm very active there as well. I'm the vice president of my block association. I'm a former board member of Friends of Brower Park. I also serve on the board of a 501c3 nonprofit cat rescue organization. And also finally, one of the things that I'm very proud of is that I am on the board of my union. I'm executive vice president of the Court Attorneys Association of the City of New York. So I am looking forward to running, and I believe that I can be successful this year with your support. Thank you.
I'll ask you the same question I've asked some of our other candidates. Given your experience inside the courts,
Yeah.
they don't run perfectly. So if you were to take the bench, what changes do you think need to be made to help our courts run better and run more efficiently?
Well, I think that there are changes that I could make personally as a judge, and then changes to the system that I would advocate for. I'm very passionate about equal access to justice, especially with my work with pro se litigants, not only in the help center, but conferencing cases in the pretrial discovery parts. I deal with self-represented litigants all the time. Also with my work on uncontested divorces, most of those submissions are by self-represented litigants. So anytime there are errors to those forms or there's missing forms, I have to find a way to use clear and concise language to explain to these litigants how to fix these forms, how to fix their errors so that they can achieve, a divorce, a judgment of divorce. So I think in general, we need more help. We need more resources. We need more judges. We need more staff. We need more help centers for self-represented litigants. But in terms of my personal work, I will focus on making sure that I have a courteous, respectful environment, that I treat everyone equally. It's very important when I'm conferencing cases with self-represented litigants that come before me that I ask if they've availed themselves of the resources of the help center to see where they're at. And I need to make sure that everyone that appears before me understands what's going on, whether it's a conference, a trial, anything. I want people to feel seen and to feel heard.
Can you tell us the difference between the 6th municipal district and just running countywide?
Yes, so running countywide last year was a Herculean effort. I went everywhere. So, it's attending community board meetings all over Brooklyn, police precinct meetings, going to subways before and after work, going all over. That's very different. Whereas in the 6th district, it can be way more, concentrated to that general area. Whereas countywide, I was all over.
And what neighborhoods does the 6th district encompass?
So, yes. So it encompasses Park Slope. There is a little bit Prospect Lefferts. There are various like Ditmas Park. It touches on a lot of different small areas. Yeah. Okay. So it's way more localized.
And we're not Brooklyn Heights is not.
Oh, Cobble Hill and some of Brooklyn Heights. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. A question. Any other questions? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it would make it a little clearer if you could tell the audience if you know which assembly districts are in the 6th municipal. We know it's the 52nd, a piece of it. The 57th? Do you know?
Yes. Oh, offhand, no. Because I was just previously running county until there was a change in the political landscape. And as of this past week, then I decided to run in the district. So yes, I'll be pulling all my resources and researching every area and stumping everywhere in the 6th.
Having done this now not once but twice, what are your takeaways from the first time running that you think will help you succeed this time around?
I think connecting with the voters, learning, I have developed a resilience. I think the most beneficial in terms of running was just meeting the voters. My favorite part of running was actually being outside of the subway stations, was just connecting with people taking the time to stop and ask me serious questions, And then sometimes people would see me before they were going to work and they didn't stop. But then when they saw me when they were coming home from work, then they would say, all right, okay, you've been here. Let me ask you some questions. Also, being asked hard-hitting questions. I remember being outside of a subway stop in Canarsie, and it was a cold night, and I was, talking to people coming in and out, and there was somebody who was leaving the subway station who at first said, look, I don't know you. You're not in this neighborhood. You're not part of the community. Tell me a little bit, bless you, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then I explained what I did and a little bit about who I am, that, I'm a single mother, I'm involved in cat rescue, a little bit about me apart from all the work that I do. And after a while, he started changing his mind and he said, you know what, you're actually the only candidate I've met, and now I know you and I know what you're about. So now, when it comes to the primary, right, you're going to get on the ballot, it comes to the primary, I better see your name, I'm going to vote for you, and you better win, because I know who you are, because I've seen you. I haven't seen the other candidates. So, yes, yes, yes. So I think it's so important just connecting with voters, because most people don't know who the judicial candidates are. Yeah.
Any other questions for Janice? No? All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Well, we ran a little early, which is not the way things usually happen, but this is a good way to begin my reign of terror here. So, I think, okay, so we talked about next week, our endorsement meeting. There's also the induction of Honorable Norma Jean Jennings at 6 p.m. Yay! So that's the same day as our meeting, but it's at 6. So I think it's like in the neighborhood, so you can make both. It's here in the same building, so you can definitely make both. And yeah, that's it. If anyone has any questions, we have time until 9. I don't think I'm going to stay here till 9, but others may. So do as you wish. Thank you for coming. Oh, yeah, motion to adjourn. Wait, who's, okay, second. All right, great. And we're adjourned. Show me so that you don't always have to do it, Seamus. I mean, I hope that you're always.